So I'm going to be running back the same exact list from yesterday because I do think that it's really powerful and I really like our sideboard while we have access to the force negations. I'll be able to play them until the next downtime. That's when I lose my god account. Also, we have Uro in the main deck, which is kind of sweet. I started off on 4, and then shaved down to 3 to make room for the additional forest to play around Blood Moon some. But once we lose Uros and Force Negations, um, the deck is still playable. It's still very playable without those cards. You just run more of your engine pieces. Let's go ahead and kick off the league here. Don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. Jamming some Jeskai. Nice. I love the Jeskai persuasion. Saffron Olive's Budget Ninjas video did that to you. Hooray, we're on the play. See what kind of hand we get. Let's see what kind of hand we get. I don't think I'm into keeping this. One lander's not really gonna be that great. This hand is also kind of bad. Okay, this is much better. We can bottom the Creeping Chill and the Narcomoeba, and I think I'm just fine with that. 2 cards to the bottom. Bye-bye, and bye-bye. So here we'll lead off with a crab off of the breeding pool. And then pass turn. I forgot to say the usual intro. This is Chuck, aka Basiclandshark here, streaming Modern and Magic Online for your enjoyment. Hope everyone's having a great day. So this looks like it's going to be some mill. Since we don't have a 2-drop, we'll just play Watery Grave tapped, and we'll mill ourself. This might be awkward for the opponent. Always yield, and always yes to this. Fast turn. I won't say it's easy. They play main deck Surgical Extraction, which is kind of a tough one to play around. They also play cards like Drown in the Lock, which can kill our creatures. But what they're doing does kind of lend to our strategy. Really needed to hit Narcomoeba there. A Narcomoeba would have been excellent. Here we'll just play everyone's favorite card. So we did gain some life, so we get back A lot of creatures. And opponent having blockers is very good for them. Since we didn't draw land, I think we'll just play Silver Smoke Ghoul. I like that block. Okay, so they milled over 2 of our arrows. We can actually bring back Gravecrawler instead, and that will bring back the, I think we have 1 prized amalgam in the yard, so that's better than casting Silver Smoke Ghoul here. So second main. Let's bring back Gravecrawler, thus triggering prized amalgam. Always yield to that trigger. Cast Narcomoeba. Thanks for pointing that out, stream team. How's it going? That meets the requirements for Vengevine, so as long as we don't get milled out, this should be enough for lethal attack next turn. If they can find a way to maybe glimpse and then play a fetch land, okay, we got there. Versus the mill player, I think Force Negation is probably premium, or at a premium here. We might want to think about bringing in Fatal Push for some of their crabs to slow them down. Being able to kill some of their chump blockers could mean the difference between whether or not we win the game. I do like the Force Negations quite a bit. I also like the Fatal Pushes quite a bit. And I think we can cut some of our top end. So Uro, I consider our top end. This is not a matchup that cares about life totals so much as how many cards are in our library. So cards that say draw a card on them are worse. We can actually probably cut some number of Glimpse the Unthinkable. I think you're right about that, Tron Walker. So maybe we shave on some number of Glimpse the Unthinkable. And then we can operate with our plan B, which is just hardcast our threats as well. Cooper coming through with the raid. Very much appreciate the shot in the arm. You have an amazing stream put together over there, Cooper. I really like watching you. I think you pick awesome decks. You guys be sure to follow Cooper the Red here on Twitch. I already have. You're welcome. And like I said, I appreciate the shot in the arm. Always a good way to kick off the stream. So if you just got here from the raid, we're playing Sultai Crabvine. And we're actually playing the deck versus Demir Mill. And now you're up to speed. We're up a game. Just headed into game 2. So our hand is a little on the slow side, but I think I'll keep it. So here we have a choice of pushing their crab or playing our crab. Given that we still kind of want to mill ourselves, just play the crab. All right, we'll do that off of a watery grave. Some triple crab action. You've heard of Jace on Jace on Jace, but have you heard of crab on crab on crab? So I guess we'll save the fatal push until we need to block. Or excuse me, until we need to remove a blocker. So here I think we'll just go ahead and play the breeding pool. Although fetch land is actually kind of better. So we get more mill triggers. There we go. So I kind of want to respond to the Narcomoeba trigger to make sure that we hit prized amalgams. And let's start thinking about getting green mana out, so we'll get an overgrown tomb here. Hopefully this crab trigger will hit at least one prized amalgam. And it did. Always yield to this trigger. That's exactly why the card is in the sideboard. We need a way to remove our opponent's graveyard hate spells before they enter the battlefield. Even if it means that we pitch a blue card from hand, I think it's usually worth the trade. And if they have surgical extraction, they need to use it here on the prized amalgam. The other thing, they might be, ooh, look what they did for us. This has to be a nightmare matchup for the opponent. Again, life total, not necessarily the most important thing here. We are down to 12 cards though, that's a little scary. Okay, so our last remaining cards are Force Glimpse, 3 Gravecrawlers, and a Merfolk Secret Keeper. So we can't really do much here. Oh, they're gonna mill us out with the crabs. So I needed to fatal push one of the crabs. Apparently, they found a way. All right. Well, that one stings a little bit. They had us exactly. I think we just run it back. Okay, can we keep this hand? I think the answer might be yes. The card that I'm most scared of here is Surgical Extraction. If they find a way to kill the Hedron Crab, that's going to be bad news for us. Oh, I should have played Crab first. So, first punt. Should have played a Crab first. Then we'd have more landfall triggers. Since we messed that up, perhaps we take this turn just to deploy Narcomoeba. Yeah, that is true. Let's just go for a Narcomoeba here. It uses all of our mana, and that's actually a good thing. We also really need to draw some of our green sources. That'll do. All right. Did I mess up? Would have played only one crab, so you could double creature spell into the Vengevines. think we can still do that. We have Merfolk Secret Keeper. Did that see the first crab that we played? Oh no, I got the wrong land. So we really need to mill over our Narcomoeba here. I should have got a blue source. I should have got a breeding pool. Already 2 punts in this game. Okay, luckily Creeping Chill will bring back Silver Smoke Ghoul, which will bring back prized amalgams. Okay, triggers. Always yield. So there's a real possibility that the opponent has Field of Ruin and 2 Archive Traps in hand, which is lethal. So if they have those cards, then we are dead. Field of Ruin would make us search, and then 2 Archive Traps would mill us out. It's a forced search, which would be very bad. Right? Okay, there's our prized amalgams. Let's see if they have the surgical extraction. Okay, extirpate. So they're gonna gain information about what's in our hand. Okay, Gravecrawler and Gravecrawler will trigger Vengevine from the graveyard. So I think we're gonna do that. It's possible that we're supposed to mill ourselves this turn as well. 1, 4, 7, 11. Come on, Creeping Chill. We need you. So we can attempt to go for Venture Deeper right here. We have 13 cards. All 4 Creeping Chills have been exiled, so Creeping Chill can't save us here. So we are not going to play the Secret Keeper. The Field of Ruin could spell lethal. Yeah, we're getting milled out. They must have an archive trap. So I have to choose them. Otherwise, my library is going to be too low. We're getting milled out anyways, so damn. I guess we were supposed to go for the Secret Keeper. That sucks. So we are dead. What we needed was a faster clock. Perhaps if I didn't play the Overgrown Tomb and I mill myself with the Venture Deeper, half of the Merfolk Secret Keeper, the turn that I played the wrong land, that may have done it. I think my opponent is just toying with me here. They must have a stop set on the upkeep. Right on. There we go. Tron Walker, how was your tournament yesterday? I didn't make it through much of that. This hand has to be a mulligan. this one as well. I think it's probably not that great. This is better. Awesome, 3-2. The 3-2 dream was achieved. The card we put back here is probably Prized Amalgam and the Secret Keeper, which is arguably one of the worst cards in Sultai Crabvine. It gets boarded out in a lot of matchups. This another mill? Thoughtseize. Okay. Alright, we drew Glimpse. Here I'm gonna grab Watery Grave. Play the Gravecrawler. This is probably Sultai Uro. Snow-covered island. I think it's Sultai Uro. So we could glimpse the unthinkable here, but it probably just eats a counter spell like a Remand or a Mana Leak. This might as well. Yep, whatever we played was just getting countered. Here I'll shock and replay it. Attack for 2. And pass back the turn. Yep, 100% in an Uro deck. Sultai Uro is what we're facing. I don't think that'll work. They are tapped out. Let's see if they have Force of Negation. Not bad. Creeping Chill, 2 Narcomoebas, and a few Prized Amalgams. So they probably mill themselves. Luckily, they did not hit an Uro. Jace the Mind Sculptor. I think I need to go ahead and get a green source here. think our library is looking like it's primarily black cards. So we'll grab Overgrown Tomb this time. They bounce Prized Amalgam. Alright, we can play Vengevine, attack and kill Jace. Seems like the plan here. Oh, why didn't I swing with Narcomoebas? Oh my goodness, I thought they were summoning sick. Now I'm sick. We were supposed to hit them for a lot. Wow. Just wow. Yeah, that's where this game is headed. We got lucky there. Not swinging with Narcomoebas almost cost us the first game. I'm glad we didn't get punished. No, I expect them to bring in like one-sided graveyard hate. Perhaps we could look at a list. Pretty sure they play some form of graveyard hate. Wooden Puddle, thanks for diving into the Shark Tank. If it's your first time here, you feel like chatting, let us know your favorite cards in Modern. Looks like we're playing around Ashiok. I think we can try and counter Ashiok on the way down. So we're playing around Ashiok mainly. That might be a good enough reason just to bring in Thoughtseize here. And then we can shave on some of our graveyard cards. We can cut one Glimpse. We can cut one Prized Amalgam. Probably some grave crawlers. All right. I'm not usually in the business of keeping one landers, but this one has a ley line in it, so I'm gonna be a greedy. I'm gonna keep a greedy hand here. All-time favorites are Geist of Saint Traft and Vendilion Click. Nice choices. Tempo player at heart. I love a good Geist of Saint Traft beating. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for the support. I don't know what they take with this. Instantly, I feel safer. Oh, that was a terrible mill. Two Thoughtseizes. I don't really think it's worth it to force this. Them taking Force and Negation means that it was 100% correct not to force that. Now we still have card quality. Oh, this is going to be rough. So we knew the risks of keeping a one land hand. I didn't get a chance to read the new White God. What does it do? Finally, our second land. I don't think this glimpse is going to resolve. They just play too many counters. Looks like Uro. Having another land there was perfect. Um, we should hopefully be able to get this ley line down. but it doesn't exile any cards from the graveyard that weren't already there. Or excuse me, it doesn't exile any cards from the graveyard that were already there. So this is just kind of awkward. Given that we have Force and Negation in the deck, we need to actually fetch double blue here. And I think here I'm just playing Prized Amalgam. If they counter it, that's actually fine. Oh, nice. Another card for Hammer Time. Not very optimistic about this hitting the battlefield. Okay, so it would have been better to play Silver Smoke Ghoul there. Vengevine, I like. Let's see if they have a Cryptic Command. They have it all. That gave them their last card they needed for Uro. It did tap them kind of low. I guess Glimpse the Unthinkable would be a good draw here. I'm not going to swing with the Stitcher Supplier. They're just going to take the damage. We need it as a chump blocker. And we also need to draw another land. So they gain the life before we block. We're actually getting unlucky in this game. Jace is going to come down and give the opponent a lot of options. And an active Field of the Dead is pretty much lights out. So the last time we played versus this style of matchup, I brought in Assassin's Trophy for Field of the Dead. I forgot to do it this time. What cards do we have left? We haven't hit a single Creeping Chill. Land would be kind of good. It would bring back 2 Vengevines. I think we have to scoop. Alright, next game. So I think I want at least access to 1 Assassin's Trophy. I don't think Thoughtseize is that good on the play. So I think we just need to mull to a hand with Leyline of the Void. And not keep a 1-lander. Well, this is so rough. If we draw a second land, this hand is amazing. These hands are just not good. This hand is relying on Glimpse the Unthinkable to do all of the work, and that's just not a good plan. This hand can... Also, it can't cast a Vengevine. This hand doesn't do anything. All it does is force the negation and glimpse. If we were to draw one of our blue cards, we can pitch that to force the negation, counter their counterspell for the glimpse. I think I'm keeping this hand. I'm scared to go down another card. 2 cards go to the bottom. So I guess we bottom the Vengevine and the Creeping Chill. Here I'll lead off with Polluted Delta and pass. Let's grab Breeding Pool. Creeping Chill was a horrible draw there. I know they play Spell Snare, but I think I'm going for it anyways. What is this? Spell snare? That was a blowout. And now our draws are crap. It's gonna counter the Thoughtseize so they don't know what's in our hand. Go ahead and cast Creeping Chill. Yeah, that was a really good spell snare, and I felt it in my bones that we were about to get spell snared there. When you play Modern, as long like you can just feel it sometimes. All right, now we just hope to draw something before they draw something, and that's not a good approach to winning this game. I think our best draw is probably Glimpse the Unthinkable. It's the most explosive card in the deck, or it has the potential to be the most explosive card in the deck. Yeah, but we cut Uro for game 2 and 3. To make room for the Force of Negations. That could be a mistake. They've chosen not to put a card on top of their library. They're trying to bring back Uro here. The land was a bad draw. We'll just play it. I don't think it's worth hiding that we drew land. So I missed that, but they target Cling to... They use Cling to Dust on our Force of Negation in the graveyard. So I have Assassin's Trophy somewhere in the deck. I need that now. Maybe we get lucky here. Okay, there's some gas. So we're taking that hit. They have no planeswalkers, but I think swinging here makes sense. Six, 8, 10, 12. I'll take it. Um, yeah, I think now we have to block. They might get greedy, give us something we can counter. Alright, so we lose the counter war. And I think that's too many zombies. Yep. That's unfortunate. So no love from the shuffler that game. I think we did everything that we could. If anybody saw any play mistakes in the last game, feel free to point them out. Yeah, perhaps I did crack a fetch land. I did that once. I thought about that too. When I did that, maybe this is better if I wait for a crab. And we did hit 2 crabs after that. Is this Infect? It is. I haven't seen Infect in a while. So we need blockers. Awesome. I think if they attack here with the Glistener Elf, we just snap block with the Narcomoeba. Well, there goes our ability to block. Do they have the scale up? So no Might of Old Corrosa, no scale up. Looks like they're gonna play another Infect creature this turn. They don't have one. So they must have like a Spell Pierce or something. Creeping Chill is not for this matchup. Doesn't help at all. I do think we swing here because Distortion Strike comes back from exile. So the Narcomoeba won't be able to block the Glistener Elf next turn. And I also don't think I fetched appropriately for Vengevine. So now we need to rely on a different land than the swamp. Highly likely that we just died to a barrage of pump spells. There's the lethal one, so let's go ahead and scoop, and we'll go on to the next game. In fact, you need ways to interact with their creatures. If we can disrupt them with Thoughtseize, they're kind of a threat light deck. Assassin's Trophy can take care of Inkmoth Nexus. And I think these are the only cards that we want. This doesn't feel like a matchup where Uro is going to be relevant. So we'll go ahead and shave Uros again. Um, it's tempting to cut grave crawlers since they can't block. I think it might be either some number of grave crawlers or some number of Vengevines because the card is just kind of too slow. Secret Keeper has 4 toughness. It can be a good blocker. We can probably shave 1 glimpse, 1 prized amalgam, and 1 grave crawler and still be okay. This way, most of our engine is intact and like the deck still functions. Okay, we don't have a land for the Thoughtseize. I got excited when I saw these 2 cards. This I think I have to keep. Gravecrawler can't block though. Nope, I'm gonna mull this. 1 Thoughtseize is not... If they have a second infect creature... Opponent kept 7 cards. If they have a second infect creature... or an Inkmoth Nexus, we just lose if we draw another land. I'm gonna mull this hand. This I think is gonna be the keep, and I'm glad we mulliganed. We'll bottom Creeping Chill. And I think we'll bottom the Watery Grave. Oh no, we milled over a Glimpse the Unthinkable and a bunch of lands. Okay, they didn't play a 1-drop. That's good. No Narcomoebas. Crap. Guess I'll pass the turn. Wait, need to attack first. Then pass. There's Inkmoth Nexus. Spellskite. So we have to kill this Spellskite. With our fetch, we did hit one creeping chill. And we have to waste our fatal push on Spellskite. Here I'll shock, go to 15, mill ourselves with the crab. Another creeping chill and another Glimpse the Unthinkable down. Telling you guys, Glimpse the Unthinkable is the most cracked in half card in the deck. It's got the most. It's the way to put the most power into play. Is that card. So I'm always sad when I see them hit the yard without casting them. We do get back a second Silver Smoke Ghoul. Groundswell makes Inkmoth Nexus 5/5. These creeping chills, I probably should have cut for this matchup. And we have no way to interact, so we had to kill the Spellskite. Otherwise, they will be protecting the Inkmoth Nexus with the Spellskite when we go to Fatal Push it here. So I think using push on Spellskite was correct. And them shocking there, it means that they have lethal. So we're 0-3. What a beating. I mean, you see it. There's just nothing we can do there. If we held this Fatal Push in hand for the turn that they go for the last pump spell, we just lose to the Spellskite there. So that game was over based on the cards that we drew. Yeah, sometimes that is a struggle. I can't lie. I try my best to stay on an even keel, but sometimes the games, they do get the best of me. I made a mistake there. I was supposed to play Gravecrawler. This looks like Ad Nauseum. 100% messed up there. I was supposed to play Gravecrawler off the Off the swamp, because what we need is a fast clock versus Ad Nauseam, and the Dark Slick Shores, pretty solid tell. Pentad Prism only makes matters worse. We should be attacking for 2 this turn. Alright, I'm going to cast Glimpse here because of what we just talked about in the last match. It's the most explosive card in the deck, and it's the only card that can conceivably help us win from this spot. We need to mill over more Vengevines, like all 3, with this Glimpse, and then be able to cast both Narcomoeba and Gravecrawler next turn to win. So this has to hit 3 Vengevines, which is a tall order. Plus we need them to not have the Phyrexian Unlife. So we've got some goodies. The way our hand is now, we have 2 Vengevines coming back next turn. And we should be attacking them. I think we're going to be 1 turn too slow. The amount of times I've said, if I had 1 more turn versus Ad Nauseam. Alright. So if we use the Gravecrawler from the graveyard, then we don't have to cast the one from hand. Let's actually... Oh, I needed this in the graveyard. So that was an unfortunate draw. Because this fetch land could have potentially put that Vengevine in the graveyard. We want to respond to the Narcomoeba by fetching again. This time we'll grab an Overgrown Tomb, I think. Cast Gravecrawler from the graveyard. Cast Narcomoeba. We get 2 Vengevine triggers. And it doesn't matter how much we attack for. I'm really sad that we drew this. Here we can attack for... Wait. So we can attack, put them to 1, or we can attack with all. Absolute flips. Thanks for diving into the Shark Tank. I appreciate the show of support. If it's your first time here, you feel like chatting, let us know your favorite cards in Modern. I need to put him to 0 this turn. I don't think we can achieve that with the math here. We can attack for 4, 8, 11. Unless your attack next turn will be the same. We can put them to 2. We can put them to 0. The math is just not there. Any way you slice it. Because we have a 3-3, a 3-3, a 4-4, and a 4-4 that can attack. Ghoul, Amalgam, Vengevine. So that's 3, 6, 10. Yeah, we gotta swing with all. Thanks, Eternal. And Lotus Bloom coming off Suspend. If their last card is Spoils of the Vault or Ad Nauseum, we die. Alright. That was actually pretty lucky. Yeah, if they have it, they have it. So we got lucky. We skated by there. I'm hyped about that. We need another win here. Against Ad Nauseum, Nature's Claim comes in here. Thoughtseize comes in here. Force Negations come in here. Again, I think we're cutting Uro. This doesn't really feel like an Uro matchup. Uro is kind of here to steal those game ones when people don't really expect it. You know, helps us out in the aggressive matchups versus aggro. I'm kind of unsure about what to cut for all these cards. Perhaps we can just shave on our engine. So we need the blue cards for Force. I think we have enough. Probably some number of ghouls and chills. Alright, so we'll cut Silver Smoke Ghoul. I think we just cut the ghouls. and maybe a single Glimpse the Unthinkable. That could be true. I don't know the matchup that well. I'm still in the process of learning this deck. I kind of wish we had not drawn another land there. Oh no! Glimpse in the graveyard and a Nature's Claim down. Stitcher Supplier, you failed me. Put the head back in the cabinet. Okay, let's start setting up for Vengevine on 4. So they don't have Lotus Bloom on Suspend. Okay, I think we have to counter this. Unlife is just too good. That's half the combo. We can't give them that. Not when we have Force in hand. Another land. So now they begin looking for more combo pieces. Okay, prized amalgam. I think we can fetch and shock here. Perhaps we don't and just play it safe. but this might limit what we can do on a future turn. Well, we have fetch lands. I'll just get a swamp here. So I think they're looking for a counter spell with this Spoils of the Vault. They're probably looking for Pact of Negation. I think they still play that card. Okay, they went and searched for City of Brass, so they must have another Phyrexian Unlife in their hand. I'm not sure what information that gave us that they searched for City of Brass with Spoils of the Vault. A smarter player could probably figure that out. The opponent can find a few paths to victory here. Angel's Grace and Spoils of the Vault. Angel's Grace, land ad nauseum. Here's Spoils of the Vault. They go to 4. Awesome. So they didn't find it. Not sure what they were searching for there. I've never played ad nauseum, but it looks like they didn't find it, and so we win the match. So we're still live for 50 play points, and I appreciate everyone who's here watching. Hey, good morning, Sean. How is your day going? Two one-landers. All right. Two cards to the bottom. I think we can bottom. I think we can bottom Prized Amalgam. Maybe that's unwise. We have a pretty nice curve. If we bottom a land, we're not guaranteed to be able to cast our spells. I think we'll bottom Ghoul and Swamp and just hope that we draw another land. Scalding Tarn. Okay, we did find a third land, which is nice. Here I'm going to grab Overgrown Tomb. Deploy Gravecrawler and pass turn. Looks like a Uropile's deck. The Scalding Tarn makes me think that it's probably not Sultai this time, even though they played the Triome. So we're probably going to end up playing this Misty Rainforest here anyways. But let's try and stay at a high life total here. See if they want to counter this crab. They either don't have it or they decided it's not worth it to. Alright, slamming Uro here better than casting Prized Amalgam. Let's mill ourselves first and see what happens. Crab is a good way to put cards in the graveyard for Uro. So I think we play Uro here. Well, we'll fetch first. We need another green source, so it's got to be a breeding pool here. A Vengevine and 2 Glimpses. Attack for 2. Play Uro. Hopefully draw land and play land. We drew Narcomoeba. Alright, let's cast Prized Amalgam here. After we attack, of course. So, we can attempt to trigger Vengevine, or we can just play a prized amalgam that we kind of want in the graveyard anyways, and we'll come back off Vengevine. And this is an on-cast trigger, so whether they counter or not, we still get the Vengevine, so I think we're going to do it. Luke Crowell, thanks for diving into the Shark Tank. I appreciate the support. If it's your first time here, you feel like chatting, let us know your favorite cards in Modern. It's the only format that I really care about. I hope you're having a great day. I haven't mentioned it today, but I'll go first. My favorite card is, I think my favorite card in Modern is Kolaghan's Command. What's yours? Alright, their Uro strikes first. Abrupt Decay on the Crab. Alright. Let's make our graveyard just a little bigger here so we don't mess up. Now, we could actually forego playing Uro here and attack for 8, 9, 10. I think we're putting Vengevine into play this turn rather. The downside of that attack is Field of Ruin can actually hinder our ability to Uro, and Field of the Dead is now online. Okay, this is happening during my draw step. And now Uro is off the table. So we can't Uro this turn anymore. I think that was a bad attack. but at least it forces them to trade a lot of their zombies. We only got in for 1 damage. Oh, they got rid of our zombie. So they're gaining a lot of advantage off the Uro. Go figure. And Nexus of Fate is bad news. If they can find 1 more point of damage, then we die. That was rough. Oh, next card? Yeah, I didn't think to check. So here I'm gonna bring in Leyline of the Void for Uro and Assassin's Trophy for Field of the Dead. This way we're not out cold to those cards. I'm gonna leave the Force of Negations in the sideboard this time. Since we're only playing for 50 play points here, I think it's time to try and do this for science. Previous times when I played against any Uro's pile deck, I brought in Force of Negations. But I was already cold to Field of the Dead once this league, and I don't want to have that happen twice. I think we'll cut Creeping Chills this time. 1 Merfolk Secret Keeper. And I think 1 Uro. This might be a matchup where we can cut Secret Keeper because it's not really an aggressive matchup, so to speak. That's where this card shines. So let's cut these and bring in 2 copies of Force just to have 2 copies of the Force floating around in the deck somewhere. Need a good draw. Alright, I'll keep this hand. This is like finally a good hand. The shuffler has been most unkind today. It feels. Our opponent has mulliganed, so they're looking for a hate piece. Potentially, or they just didn't like their opener. They mulled once. I think the card with the highest upside here is probably Stitcher Supplier. It can put Narcomoeba and Prized Amalgam into play on turn 1 if we're lucky. Okay, we milled over our Leyline of the Void. Another land, obviously not the greatest thing in the world. Sadly, no luck with the Stitcher Supplier's first trigger. Well, we did get a Vengevine back, so I take that back. Ravenous Trap. Okay. Pretty good sideboard card for us. So we got there. Very, very good sideboard tech in Modern. If an opponent had 3 or more cards put in their graveyard from anywhere this turn, cast it for free. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Drawing Force Negation there was pretty insane. Again, instantly I feel safer. Opponent has a stop set on my draw. Okay. Let's attack them for 4. Play Amalgam. Ship the turn. Hey, Kitty Fox. I brought in two copies just to have it floating around in the deck somewhere. I think we save Verdant in case we draw one of our few crabs. Narcomoeba speeds up the clock. Perhaps it might be better to save that in hand to pitch to protect from Cryptic Command next turn. I think Sean is correct here. It's more important to have Force and Negation up than the 1 mana, or the 1 power. Is anybody else having technical difficulties with the sound? Can anybody else not hear me? Okay, thanks for saying. So they're gonna tap all creatures and attempt to draw a card. And let's hope they themselves do not have a force negation. Okay, so we kind of needed them not to have that. I'm not surprised. Are you surprised? I'm not. Have a lovely day at work, Kitty Fox. Imagine having it all. So I did fetch wrong the first time. So we took some unnecessary damage. Yeah, it's pretty rough stuff. And Ryan, what's going on? How was your stream the other day? Won it all? I wish I knew what that was like. Thanks for joining us. All right. So I think we want to draw first. I think we play Uro first. We could draw something of value. A land? I think we're one card short from escaping Uro. It's 5 cards, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 if we fetch. If they block here, they don't block. Alright. I was gonna say if they block here, we can escape Uro by fetching. I think opponents saw it. Pretty heads up not blocking there. So good for them for figuring that out. What's better versus Uro, Crabvine, or Dredge? Um, I'm inclined to say that pretty stock Dredge is probably your best bet, but it's going to come down to whatever you're more familiar with in Modern 2/3 of the time. If you have more reps with Dredge, I would say stick to that. So we're just trying to mill over something of value. Then you're gonna want to stick with that. One of the reasons why I suck at Modern, sans making mistakes on the Magic Online client, but one of the main reasons why I suck at Modern is that I switch decks too much. Shaun of the Dead can confirm. Okay, this Uro is actually great. It's gonna bring back Silver Smoke Ghoul. One of the hidden synergies in this deck. Uro just unlocks your Silver Smoke Ghouls and your prized amalgams, and life is great when everything lines up. Imagine having Field of the Dead to play off Uro. Imagine that. Can confirm. That is. Oh, that stings. They found a sideboard damnation. I almost cussed. I did miss that. Son of a gun. Thank you for mentioning. I'll try not to forget that next time. Also, if we were playing Carrion Feeder, this would be one of the spots where it would be good. Yeah, but we don't want to miss an opportunity to draw a card and win the game. You know, we're fighting for these 50 play points here. Can't miss out on a cool 50. Get wrecked, scrub, is what our opponent just said. So then there was that. Then there was that. Well, chat, it was a fun stream. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Hope you enjoy Magic the Gathering like I enjoy Magic the Gathering. I don't even want to cast this Glimpse because they can potentially mill us out with Ashiok over 2 turns. A smarter player could deduce what is in the deck. We already boarded out our creeping chills. I think we're kind of in a pickle here. They got us on the ropes. So it's going to be a 4-1. Or a, excuse me, I wish it was a 4-1. It's going to be a 1-4. I want to thank Luke Crowell for diving into the Shark Tank. Hope you enjoyed your time here. Absolute Flips for diving into the Shark Tank. Hope you enjoyed your time here. Wooden Puddle for diving into the Shark Tank. Hope you enjoyed your time here. And Cooper the Red for the nice raid this morning. I've grown fond of watching your stream in the morning time, Cooper. You're still around. Everybody for hanging out. Everyone that said hi. Another glimpse. You literally can't write this stuff. It just happens. Can't even attack. We're hamstrung. Yeah. Growth spiral. Field of the Dead trigger. Yeah. Now we're dead to the zombies. So we get nothing. Opponent says you get nothing. Good day, sir. Such potential. Let's check out the list again. Not sure where to go from here. I think the main deck is nearly identical to what I would recommend if you're going to play any kind of Sultai Crabvine deck right now. I think what we've learned is that the deck has a lot of game versus the Piles deck in the form of Leyline of the Void, so that's a good answer to those decks. If you can get it down turn 1, there's not much they can do. Yesterday we had a Dredge player scoop that card in games 2 and 3. So Leyline of the Void, sneaky good in Modern. You can fit it in the deck. I think it's best obviously as a 4 of. 3 is defensible, but 4 is better. The sideboard force negations. Let's talk about those. I think we probably boarded them in maybe one too many times. They didn't really help out in the first Piles deck that we played against, the Sultai deck. The Nature's Claim didn't really do anything today other than end up in the graveyard, but I think that card is much needed somewhere. Fatal Push was pretty good. The Assassin's Trophies we never drew. Thoughtseize will be Thoughtseize. So I like where this configuration is at, and I don't think I would change anything. But if anybody has advice on playing the deck, or if you are trying things out that you find are good, I've seen a Sultai Crabvine list with Life from the Loam in it. That could be a thing to try out. Life from the Loam plus Blast Zone in the sideboard is a good little pairing of cards. Some people like to run Force of Vigor in the sideboard. I don't think there's enough green cards in the deck to warrant playing that card, even if you can cast it. I think it's just better to have more trophies, more nature's claims. Like Life from the Loam is good against cards like Renin 6. So there's a lot of, when Renin 6 is king, which a lot of the times, you know, there's a lot running around with Uropiles and Jund and Temur Rec, if that deck still exists. What else runs it? Panza runs it from time to time, but it's typically just a one of there. It's a good answer to that card, and it's also a good answer to Field of the Dead. Or excuse me, not Field of the Dead, Field of Ruin. Pardon me, there's a big difference between those cards, and I always get them mixed up. Just some parting thoughts. Not sure what deck I'll be on for the next stream. You can potentially look for me tomorrow if I have some free time in the morning like today. Probably do another chill stream. I'm not really into formats beyond Modern. I have to admit, they kind of, it's the thought of playing a format that I don't know anything about, it stresses me out. Like, I would try that when no one's watching, but when people are watching, it's just going to cause me, you know, a lot of stress. And nobody needs any more stress in their life right now. Hopefully you'll accept that answer as one of my loyal watchers. But yeah, on that note, thanks everybody for hanging out, watching the stream. It's been real, it's been fun. 1-4 is not real fun, but it is what it is. We'll try better, try harder next time. Let's figure out who's getting this raid